Hello, and a massive hello to everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. This is 50 Pips, 19th of June, 2017. No trade calls, no recommendations. Everybody's responsible for their own stuff. We're here for educational purpose only. So, what's happening if we go into this week? First things first, I got a couple of comments or questions on my tweet on Amazon. I just said, it'd be quite funny actually if the announcement on Friday marked some kind of a top. Now, what's interesting to me is that it gapped up quite aggressively, right? And then it just failed to take out that 1,000 level. So what we mentioned, we're looking at this live in the weekly webinars. Is if you have to take a shot, it's short, right? It's, I don't know how to say it. The way you're looking at it, short. Even if you're trying to play with something like a day close level, right? You see after it gaps up and you see it spends so much time here, you're trading even intraday, right? With something like 0.5% risk on this, and you've got about 3% to the downside if we go in and we fill the gap, right? So, or even as a scalp. And if this ends up being some kind of a bigger top, then you could have caught yourself a little lottery ticket. That's all. We don't know what's going to happen. It's just a question of trying to see what could happen, what could play out, and how to express different views in what we like to call, an asymmetric with an asymmetric risk reward profile. So what's happening here in the market? Well, a lot of wheeling and dealing. And I think the key thing is, after we had this big puke, right, the puke days, what's happened, and a lot of people are talking about this rotation out of tech, and basically is NASDAQ has held extremely heavy, ES so-so, and YM bid back to new highs. So, the big question is how to read this. Well, there's very little to do on something like the YM when you keep on skyrocketing. We're not buying highs, right? So as far as like skyrocketing like that, there's not a lot to do as long as it's broken outside of that range. You just have to be patient. If anything, if you're looking to short, you're focused on the action on the ES, right? Which is still inside that day's range, right? Where we had that very aggressive trade, right? Big move down, close back up, and basically we've just been sidelined, right? Not moving inside that range. So as long as we stay, this could break either side. You could make a case for all these bids coming in supporting, and this has to skyrocket and follow the YM. Or you could also make a case to say, well, it's very heavy, it hasn't managed to break higher. If it breaks down, then there's no reason why we shouldn't come back and take out these lows. Not that interesting, right? For us, the most interesting thing remains the NASDAQ here, because as we said, after you see this kind of action, we suspect a lot of people, and what happened on Amazon across the board, something broke in the NASDAQ. So it doesn't mean it can't go higher, but to us, it continues to look particularly weak. Now, bids trying to support it, but it really looks like we've got some unresolved business below these lows. So what we're focusing on is NASDAQ and what effect that could have on the broader market, because equally, not only if this breaks down hard, but equally if this starts catching a bid and continues to press higher and breaks above these highs with the YM already skyrocketing and the ES going sideways, then there's very little reason why everything shouldn't just go straight higher, okay? But here, our real focus is the NASDAQ. How do we trade inside this range? Do we have unresolved business at these lows? And if we take that out, then we would expect that 50 to lead to a 100 DMA test, to see that come in very, very quickly. And should that happen, should those lows get taken out with some funky action like we got last Friday with some mini, in brackets, flash crashes, even though we don't like that term, right? Let's call it more stop hunts, resting stops need to be hit, then there's no reason this could get very ugly very quick. So our focus is really to continue to look at NASDAQ, to continue to look at tech, and see what's happening there, because we feel that's where we have there's a little bit more edge and the action is a little bit more interesting. Now, clearly, if we see ES trading back below those lows, we're very interested to try and press the short side. Should we get YM below those lows, we'd be very interested to press the short side. Now, gold, what's going on gold? And let me just move this back too. What we said, we've been bullish on gold, and we've been looking for gold to ultimately play out and come back into the 1340s unresolved business in these highs, November highs. But what we said, as bullish as we've been on gold, is when you're pressing here, you can't get, new positions, you can't get long here. If anything, you're looking to get short, right? You're looking to get short to look for some kind of pullback, either in that trend line, into the trend line, which is the first bull bear line, or into the whole cluster of the moving averages. Now, because the action has been very, very messy, the way we're looking at this is we're looking at this 50, 100, and 200 DMA zone, right? 50, 100, 200 DMA zone. As long as price doesn't close below this, then we expect the rotation to still be in play and for us to have some unresolved business at the very least back into the 1300s. Should we get a daily close below this 200, call it anyway below this 1240s, then we think that we're wrong. We have to review our assumptions, and that we're probably coming back into the 1200s, very, very heavy action. But that's not our base case for now. Bonds, no change for us. We said we felt these needed to trade higher, and they're still holding higher. Here, just look at the 200 DMA. Let's see what happens here. Bull bear line above. We still think we need to press into the 60s before we get a nice shorting opportunity. Day closes below, then the resumption of the trend lower could have started. This is going to be the key line in the sand. DXY, what's going on the DXY? I think most people will be looking at this saying, that's it. We tried to bottom, false break, big fake out kind of candle. We have to go back up to the 98.50s, and clearly that's in play. The way we're looking at this is slightly different. Once we puked into these lows, this is the spike high. This is the high we printed, okay? Then we came in, and this is basically our low when we clip stops. As far as we're concerned, as long as we trade inside this range, we see this as basically much to do about nothing, velocity of move inside range. We think that this is where we're pausing for the next leg. So we're going to forget about this line in the 50 DMA and say day closes above, we've got a much higher correction, probably in the 200 to the 100. Day close below, very aggressive to the downside. But velocity of move inside range should not confuse you. We need to close outside here before we get something really going. Cable, no change for us on cable. We've been structurally bearish cable for a long time. If you can go back in the videos, we felt there were some beautiful opportunities to short into that 130, especially with the action on the 1 hour for the whole week. It was really, really beautiful action. And as far as we're concerned, this is potentially a big top, right? And as long as we don't start to take that level back out again, we think that that's going to hold and we have to test lower. Look at it going into this week, 128 being pivotal. Day closes above. There's no reason why we couldn't try and test this trend line aggressively, possibly even up into there on some choppy action. Day closes below. We expect the next stop to be 126s this week, into the 100, into the 200. Then that's going to be the pivotal line for 128, or then a big resumption of the move back down into the 2150s. So that's pretty much what we're focused on this week. There could be other interesting things shaping up. We'll try and do a Wednesday morning outlook this week, so heads up, we'll see what happens. All the 50 Scouts group, heads up, you'll get a free pass for Friday's session. Again, thank you so much for liking. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for all the comments on YouTube. Thank you for all the music and videos and pics everybody sends through. Very much appreciated. As always, shout out to Debbie. And again, have an awesome one. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.